What's up, everyone? Eric here again. Today is the 15th of December 2020. This is the closing trade alert for SPCE, commonly called SPACE, which is Virgin Galactic. I opened this trade 2 weeks ago on the 1st of December, and I sold the 37 call, which means I want the price to stay below $37. I collected $1.60 at credit. And then this morning, I closed the trade for just over 50% of my max profit and bought it back for just 79 cents. I just noticed in the last hour or so, the price has swung even more in the favor of this position. Go figure, just my luck, right? If we check out the trade tab here, man, I'm really curious to see now. So 79 cents is what I closed it at. Where's the 37? Oh my goodness. It's dropped. What is that? About 20 cents almost. I had 7 contracts. I could be collecting almost another $140 on this one. Even if you just had one contract, you're looking at like, what is that? 17 bucks, 20 bucks per contract you'd be getting now. Just my luck. 2 days in a row that kind of happened to me. Whatever, you can't control it. I've definitely been on the beneficial end of closing in timely fashion. Either way, I'm coming out a winner on this one. Let's take a look at the chart real quick to see what happened. All right, so I opened the trade here on this vertical line on the 1st of December. When I opened the trade, the underlying stock price was around $28, which is this dashed line here. I sold the 37 call, which is way up here, for $1.60 credit. This seemed like a pretty good position to me because if you look over here, you can see that that is approaching the all-time high for SPACE here. If you couldn't tell, the stock is pretty volatile. It has these pretty big spike ups and then crashes down, gapped up here, crashes down again. So when I opened this here, it had already had a pretty big run up. The first few days, for about the first week actually, it went against me pretty hard, especially on this day. Jumped up 17.5% on this day alone. But that was kind of the peak. Hung around there for 3 or 4 more days until here. And then just yesterday, there was some bad publicity for these guys. Apparently one of their launches had some issues or something, and man, it just took a beating. So for me, selling this call, that's great, because when you sell a call, you want the price to go down or at least stay below your price, right? If you buy a call, you want the price to go up. So this pressure here, I think I was down about $1.60 per contract, so I was down like a 1x of what I sold it for. Nothing really to worry about, especially in the first week. I mean, when you open a trade, they almost never go in your favor right off the bat, right? Because you essentially never get in at the bottom of a trade, right? And just like you never sell at the top. You're never going to catch 100% of a move. The goal here is to catch a big portion of it, right? Or when you're selling options, this strategy, your goal is to collect 50% of the move. Anyways, this went against me at first, which I wasn't too worried about. It did get pretty close at one point, but considering the RSI was overbought, this had already had a massive run up, I was still pretty contrary to the trend, that this uptrend was going to at least have a temporary pushback. And even if that happened for just a few days, that would probably be a long enough duration where time decay would kick in, and then with the movement of the underlying stock price, I'd end up getting paid. Sure enough, this huge spike down, 2 days in a row now. And ultimately, this ended up being pretty much a textbook naked put or naked call trade. The duration of the trade took 14 days, which again is very standard for these. If you get a quick mover, it can be a week or even sometimes less. Slow movers can be, 21 days, or obviously it can even go longer. But on average, I'd say a naked call or a naked put, you're going to be in it for about 10 to 14 days. And this is right at that 14-day mark. My percent of max profit was 50.6%. The return on capital was an awesome 28.9%. And let me tell you, my friends, that is the beauty of a low buying power stock. I think this ticker only takes about $300 per leg of a trade, which is incredibly cheap for buying power. So if you can get into a good setup with this, your return on capital is amazing. I mean, being in this trade for 14 days, which includes 4 weekend days, and your return on capital is 28.9%, you're making more than 2% per day return on capital. And that is incredible. And that's why I target these small buying power tickers, is because your return on capital can be amazing. I mean, you're almost getting 30% return on capital in 14 days. That's incredible. And sure, some of these other high dollar tickers, they can work faster in your favor. I have a position open in Netflix right now, and just the other day it swung in my favor $20, the underlying stock price, and it went down like 5 or 10% on the overall position to positive 30% of my max profit in one day. So that's awesome that it moves so fast. But when that trade is all said and done, my overall return on capital is going to be like 5% or maybe less, because Netflix requires much more buying power to make my $100 or my $75 or whatever I make. My average profit per contract is, I don't know, it's probably, right around 75 or 80 bucks on average. And so Netflix might work faster in my favor, but it takes a lot more capital. Whereas this one just took the normal 10 to 14 days, took a small amount of capital, and I get a massive return on it. Anyways, all that to say, the return on capital for this ticker is amazing. I actually think 28.9% is the best I have ever had. I trade several tickers that are low buying power, but on average, those are probably closer to like 20%. So this pushing 30% is just great. All that to say, this was a relatively stress-free trade, and I ended up with a profit per contract of $81. I'm definitely happy to see some of these trades finally swinging in my favor. The last 2 to 4 weeks for me has been a major test in patience. And I guess if there's the moral of a story for trading options in this fashion, selling options like this on this strategy, is you must be patient with your positions. Unless they have just totally swung out of hand against you, you have to be patient. If you start cutting losses and exiting trades at the first sign that something swings against you, you would just lose money hand over fist. When you sell options, stuff will swing against you, but remember, the biggest factor, at least in my opinion, is that time decay is on your side. And especially here in this scenario, this swung against me. I was down like a 1x or 1.5x at one point, which means I sold this for $1.60. And I was negative $1.60 at one point. I think I was actually closer to negative $2 on this. So if I had decided to cut bait because this had pushed against me and it hadn't even crossed my strike at that point, right? Had I panicked and cut bait right there, I would have lost $200 per contract at that point. But all I had to do was wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, and there was a major swing in my favor. So all that to say is that this system, I must admit, it's hard for me sometimes. This last month has really tested my patience, but it looks like even my rolled trades are starting to come back in my favor for the most part. And it sucks to have your capital tied up in these stupid rolled trades. But at the end of the day, when you see that these rolled trades come back in your favor, I mean, some of these I was down $1,000 on or more per contract. So when those roll back into your favor and you're only down a couple $100 now, or there was one the other day I even took a profit on. I mean, that's a huge swing back in your favor just by being patient with your positions. Sure, there's always going to be circumstances where, yes, you need to cut your losses and move on. But for the vast majority of your trades in this system, you just got to be patient. I mean, it just makes sense. If a big trend swings up and against you, well, the contrary thinking is that, hey, this trend is not going to just go up forever, right? So you just got to be patient. As long as nothing has fundamentally changed about the stock or your position or whatever, you just got to be patient. Stock prices ebb and flow. They come up and down and up and down and up really high and then down really low. So you just got to be patient and wait for that time decay to play in your favor. The longer you hold that trade, the more time decay kicks in, and that is exactly what you want when you are selling the option. You want time decay to suck out all the value in that trade, and eventually it becomes winner, winner, chicken dinner. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. Like I said, this trade was pretty standard. It swung against me a little bit at first. I was never down more than 2 times of what I sold it for. I think mostly I was down at like 1 or 1.5 times. It never even touched or breached my strike price. So I was never really concerned about anything at this one. And especially after that negative news kicked in and this took a huge dump yesterday, my worries were off the table. At that point, I just knew it was literally a matter of time before I got paid. All right, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.